Well, hello. Did you miss me? I know I was gone last week at GameHole, which I'll tell you all about in a little while. So, I got some old questions and comments here. But before that, there's a real advantage to being a consulting editor on a publication, and that is that you get to see stuff first. And I just saw a story that's going to be in Scientific Barbarian number 6 by the author Scott Robinson, not the game designer, but the author. Wow. What a neat story. There'll be information on Barbarian 6 Kickstarter at the end of this. Check it out. I'll bet you're going. I know you're going to like it. All right. This comment is from someone I know very well and who's a figure in the industry. I actually first met you in person, Tim, at Gary's porch party a few months before his death. You two sure seem to be getting along well to my eye. I mean, the man invited you to his house. Lanas and his band have zero connections with anything TSR other than a snatched-up trademark. Wasn't all that clever. We at Kensico noticed that trademark had lapsed as far back as 16 and joked about grabbing it, but we decided it wouldn't be a classy move. At least Jason Elliott did it right and involved the Gygas kids themselves, Tim, and others, connecting the dots with TSR of old. Yeah, well, thanks. Yeah, Gary and I had reconciled, made up, got back together, however you wish to carry it. Now, this one, I'm not exactly sure what this is in reference to, being 2 weeks ago and all. I agree, some words are uttered out of ignorance, but ignorance can be cured. Some folks are ignorant, some are racist. Many of these folks on the extreme side of these issues are just stupid. Please tell us more about your experience with the local library. Okay, I told you before how last year the local library was doing this thing on notable people that live in my city, Forest Park, and they they did a thing. And so now we're getting a brand new branch building built. It'll be up and running next spring. So I've gotten together with the librarian that coordinates activities such as this, and we're going to see if we can't get a D&D club going, or an RPG club. I don't care what you call it. Now, the main obstacle I have is the school district that I live in. It's primarily, now it wasn't, it's changed, it's morphed over the years. It is now about, well, it's predominantly African American. I'm not exactly sure on the numbers. Then comes Hispanic, and then I think comes us good old Caucasians. All right, find ourselves in a minority, and some people just can't deal with that. But anyway, the thing I'm trying to get past is that there seems to be some sort of mental block that RPGs are something just white kids do. And I really, really, really want to try and address that. And there's also, as we know, the thing that this is what males do and females aren't welcome, don't do it, can't play, blah, 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 blah. Well, we hope to address all that and change it. Yeah, I don't have much. My lofty goals are somewhere up here. But truly, I want to address that. So I don't know what age group we're going to. I think we'll aim at the middle school first, and then see if we pull any interest from the high school. It'll probably come from some high schooler with a middle school sibling going and being told about this neat stuff they're doing. Whatever, I don't know. It's going to be sometime this winter or in the early spring. We're going to try to kick it off. We're just, we're going to do this, but we haven't sat down and figured out an approach to advertise it and whatever. So I have high hopes for it. I'd love to see a group form And to that end, I've even told the librarians that I'd be glad to get the thing rolling, help some other people learn to DM at the same time, and run the first adventure or two just to show others how to get the hang of it. So, fingers crossed. Boy, you get old and arthritic, you can't even do that anymore. Fingers crossed, we'll get it. We'll get something going. I'd be really happy if we did. All right. Hey, Tim. I'm running the module B2, keeping the Borderlands for a new party of players, and I've named the curate of the Keep Caskian in your honor. Hope you're doing well and best wishes. Well, thank you. Thank you. And then somebody followed up on that. Thank you. Definitely stealing Cascoade as a ruler of my keep. So, in spirit anyway, somewhere I'm going to be being played in other people's worlds, and that's pretty cool. Okay. Commenting after GameHole has concluded. Hope the mutant caravan is finding its way home. Will you call Jim mutants? He's the one that wrote the mutant book. Anyway, update on the high school. Tomb of Annihilation group has lost interest, and we're working to find them a new setting or path to continue. I think most of the party ended up wanting to go back to Baldur's Gate rather than hex crawl through the jungle. Oh, don't even get into the jungle crap until, the cross-country stuff. You just gloss over it the first couple times. Okay, you cleaned out this ruin. Next week, don't take them there yet. I know seasoned role players that would rather have their eyeballs picked out with toothpicks than have to play outdoors, and that's okay. All right, to continue. The recent video game may have something to do with that, right? The Waterdeep group is particularly enthralled with the romance of the big city, and the student DM there is really growing his skills. Last but not least, the original Cthulhu game has gone completely off the rails, and we're all a couple of character sheets deep, having gone down the gullets of deep ones, stabbed by cultists, crushed by falling trees, given to insanity, and otherwise utterly eviscerated. We may be having the most fun. I'm a PC in this campaign because the student DM is new. Since we're in a sleep dream world, we're able to work the depths into the story rather easily. The goal has almost become to see who can die in the most extravagant way while slaying the worst threat. Okay, I'm going to stop right there about the extravagant deaths. That's a thing at cons. I've seen it for years and years. A certain percentage of players go to cons to play in new games, new campaigns, and that. Not necessarily to find the treasure, defeat the campaign, the monster, whatever, but to die gloriously so they could go home and say, oh man, you should have seen it. I was eviscerated by 4 harpies in Cast Dungeon. Or whoever's. That's fine. We go to cons to learn new styles, to play different ways that we wouldn't necessarily play at home, learn new games, etc. That's great. That's great. Not a problem there. Perhaps a related piece of news, we got a fundraiser completed to purchase Dungeon Crawl Classics and Mutant Crawl Classics materials, and I can't wait to introduce this system to the kids and learn it with them. We should be ready for the O-level funnel any day now. Hope you had a great week. Cheers. I'm almost certain that most of the ones that are getting a little jaded and bored now will find it really, really interesting when you tell them, all right, everybody get 8 character sheets, name them, stack them in whatever order you want, and just don't tell them any more. And let them go, yeah, okay, and if they, you'll see. And then when you just start tossing dead characters in a funnel, I think it opens up a new level of gaming that maybe they need to refresh their juices. I don't know. But I hope you enjoyed it. I really do. I think the crawls are just a great hoot. Okay, occasionally I run a one-shot without too many options, but still there are multiple ways in the cave or into the location or multiple paths they're in. I was copying this before I heard it was Circassian. Right, referring to Janelle's style. And I also give a short and dangerous route and a sneaky but tight and scary way through the sewers with rats, spiders, traps, falls, etc. And maybe something which a magic user or cleric might excel with, perhaps. Undead. For campaigns, I prefer sandbox. I really like giving the option of doing thing A, thing B, thing C, but also the same of A, etc. So yeah, I mean, for a campaign, I believe you definitely need to start out with a couple of options besides where they're going first. Because that way, as we all know, shit happens. When it does, you've got something prepared. And not, oh, well, we gotta halt the campaign for 2 weeks because I didn't think you guys are going to turn left there. And oh yes, it's happened to me. I told my kid there was a cave in there. There was no way they were getting through that. And a couple of weeks later, when they're back there, oh, what do you mean? I thought it was a cave in. Well, somebody cleared it out. So we can do that. Let's see. Let me get back in here. It's a big paragraph. I also do just sketch of the world, maybe just a first encounter or two for the locations I've needed. That's great. My campaign in Carbondale grew from, this being the map here, a little bitty area of the map that then, went off in other places, other directions for other reasons. And I think a sandbox is your most flexible. And like I said, if you have at least the outlines and the other B and C, for instance, at least sketched out, you're welcome. You're prepared, and you can welcome them to either one you want. At least you have a start. Then, of course, you may have to much further expand and development. But again, the players will do some of that for you simply by their choices. I also steal liberally from other stuff. Everything we did in the beginning was stealing, in that reverential way of we admired something, so we took it and we put it in our games, and that's great. Let's face it, not everybody has the skill set to make great stuff up, but some of those who do have the skill set of taking this from here and that from there and over this area and mutate them a little bit and spin them in a different way. And so it wasn't your favorite, your idea, your original idea. So what? The way it shakes out, the way it plays out will undoubtedly be unique to you and your group. Even if it's been played before, I can rotate the dungeon 90 degrees, move the entrance, etc. They won't notice anyway. I also steal plots or subplots from books, TV, comics, where that's fine. He says, I don't think anyone's ever noticed. That's fine. That's great. Not everybody can write a book. Shouldn't worry about it with what you're doing. You want some easy, cheapy maps? Get a hold of a copy of floor plans of, say, a big shopping center. You know, 2 or 3 wings, couple of 3 levels, little judicious whiteout here and a little judicious whiteout there, and adding in a little something. I can guarantee you that they're not going to, they're not going to figure out that, oh my God, this is Tri-County where I've been going for 20 years, until they played it out pretty good. And even then, you didn't have to do it exact. You could, add one here, wipe out this tier there. But there it is, ready-made for you. Same thing if you can find a map of a small village. You can expand on that. There's maps of everything somewhere. Look. All right, let's see what else is in here. This is a long comment. What are my thoughts? Good. Keep stealing. You know, it's not like every weaver has to invent their own colors. Every weaver can choose whatever colors they want to add in and make that lovely tartan or that great skirt or kilt or scarf, whatever. Any insights on the difference between second DD that was released and what would have been released had Gygax remained in charge? Okay, this is purely spec, because second came after I was gone. And I know that we'd had a conversation or two that there are a couple of things that need to be tightened up, that it was a good thing that a lot of the typos that had snuck into the first one were cleaned up. I have no idea why they nerfed the Bard. So I can imagine that on the one hand he was happy to clean up the typos and what have you, but I don't know why the Bard got nerfed. And so I don't know if that was him or somebody else, or whatever. I really can't speak for him at this point. I don't know. I wasn't there. And we never talked about it after it was done. What? No mustard? No. No mustard. I have a friend that I think if you cut him, if you went to draw blood, you get about 4% honey mustard. Guy loves his honey mustard on everything imaginable. I'm not a big fan of honey mustard, though on certain things it's quite good, but not just on everything, like my friend. Also, thanks for the Kickstarter explanation. Well, yeah, I think some people don't really quite understand the nuance there, and so I feel it's my obligation to make that more clear and remind you that you didn't send in your money and order a game. You sent in your money and said to that guy or girl, I believe in what you're doing here. I want one, and I want to help you do it. Is there a chance Lost Adventures of Gary Kahn will be out in a PDF at some point in the future? Absolutely. I'm going to talk about that a little bit at the end. I have horrible eyesight these days, and a backlit reader with pinch zoom is the only way I can see these things nowadays. Yeah, we fully intend to do a PDF. Obviously, it's going to not be as spectacular, and it's going to be. I'm not exactly the complete details, but I know we can't do beautiful, detachable, full-color maps with a PDF like we can with the book. All right, but substantially all the content that's in the hardbound will be in the PDFs, yes. I thoroughly understand. Some people don't like carrying them around, the weight. You can scan, you can get a PDF into your tablet or your laptop or whatever, and you can't necessarily do that with a hardback unless you scan it all yourself. So, you know, I can certainly see the appeal. And, you know, some people will get both. They'll get the one to put on the shelf because it's pretty and it'll be signed and everything. And they'll get the PDF to drag with them to their games, so if they got to look something up. And hardbounds are not meant for everyday play in their construction, simply because hard bindings, like any well-printed book, you need to take a little care of it, a level of care that we don't always do with our game books. And I don't mean care, I mean how it's held, how it's carried, how it's opened, flipping through the pages with clean or dirty fingers. Okay, we tend to thumb up our PDFs and kiss our nice books and put them on the shelf. And that's cool. I think that way you preserve the quality of the book, and if some point down the road you get disenchanted, or especially when you're talking about limited editions, very often they increase in value, and if you get tired of it, okay, well, you'll probably get your money back and maybe some more to boot. Okay, this one, I also prefer PDF, in part because it's hard to keep all those books on the shelf. And yeah, you're right, and it's all good. I understand. Take with you what you need. Whatever floats your boat. Next, Nostradamus not a genius? Next thing we know, you're going to proclaim that we really went to the moon, or worse, that wrestling isn't real. Well, I have an instant comment on the wrestling part. Okay, think to if you saw any of the Spartacus movie or the Spartacus series on cable. There was some pretty lewd behavior that went on in the stands because people got excited about all that blood and gut and feeding on the energy of the crowd and that. Well, when I was in college, in junior college, 71 to 73, I worked on the newspaper, and I conned myself a pass, a deal with the local promoter to go to the professional wrestling matches so I could write a story for the student paper. And so my best buddy at the time and I went to several of them, and I date myself when I would say we saw the Crusher and Nick Bockwinkel and Scrap Iron George Gdansky, some much older wrestlers that were already faded away before WWF, and then it was WWE, and before that started. And some people are still affected by the perceived violence of that. And I don't care, you can holler all you want. It seems that the most appreciative of what was going on, the most affected by it, were females. And of course, there's always a male around ready to take advantage. But the same was true with when we went to wrestling. After we'd gone to a few, we would see the same females down in the expensive seats close to the ring where you get spit on if you're not careful and stuff. And they got quite vociferous in their encouragement. So that public spectacle of violence still has had, I can't say, I haven't been in a while, but I have a feeling it probably still does, had quite an appeal. All right, now this next one, it's rather long, but it is an interesting concept, though it takes a while to get there. Okay, and it starts out with question, laws and rules. All right, let me stop right here. I coached kids soccer for several years. I refereed kids soccer for several years. I announced high school soccer for a few years. So I have some background, probably 20 years in youth soccer and high school soccer and whatever. And the FIFA rule book has the rules and laws of football, what they call it. Okay. I can't tell you for the life of me which was which was a rule and which was a law. And they all seem to be, this is what happens if you do this forbidden act. So I'm already a little shaky on the difference here between rules and laws. I do know that if you're talking about capital L laws as enacted by your legislature, they have a lot more teeth than the rules to gin rummy. All right. I've been wandering afield from putting strictly RPG input into the big saggy gray thing in my head lately. I'd recommend the book The Dawn of Everything, Graeber and Wengrow, by the way. This has thrown into relief a sort of dichotomy within RPG systems, which I'm calling laws and rules. I capitalized laws but not rules so as to point out the hierarchy. Okay, there are features of any given RP system that we can take or leave and noodle with, and I class these as rules. Then there are immutable features of a given system that make it what it is. This would fall under laws. The laws are like the golden rule of RPGs. Have fun. Other implicit laws might be participate fairly, don't metagame, be true to your character, etc. It could be said that have fun is the whole of the law. And I would chime in there and say, yeah, I like that concept. Other implicit laws might be, oh, okay, wrong paragraph, my apologies. Maybe a close second is play the game, as in follow the rules you have all agreed to follow, and play the game, as in be a good sport, conform to consensus, and read the room, basically. The rules are less occult, hidden, than the laws. They are the mechanics of the game, the fabric of the gameplay. In some way, laws fit closely to sociological concepts of widely shared meaning within a culture, whereas rules might be closer to the habits and preferences of a particular family. Tommy's fam likes Pepsi, Jenny's fam likes Coke. Or groups within the society like the Girl Guides versus the Hells Angels. Not a fight I would like to watch. No, no, you sick bugger. Do you think that imposing a dichotomy like laws and rules, as I just explained, is helpful to encourage good play? Well, I think you're making it harder on yourself by wanting to teach that. In that fashion, my opinion entirely. Yes, there are laws. Don't cheat. Play fair. Remain in the spirit of the game. Obey the other laws of the game. And there aren't too many. The first one ought to just be have fun. Everything else is a rule that you can manipulate to achieve that end of having fun. I guess if I was trying to educate a group, I'd lay it out thusly. All right, guys, we're here to have fun. We're here to have fun. Instead of being wild and open-ended and ungovernable, we're here to have fun within these constraints, confines, rules, laws, whatever. I think as a DM, it's important to know what you can screw with in the system and what you can't. Yeah, as a DM, your internal laws and rules should be pretty clear-cut. What will I fool with and what won't I fool with? Where will I skirt around breaking the system and where won't I fool with the system? The laws about changing things to make them play. If you just don't like the way something works and you want to change it and it doesn't throw everything out of whack, do it. And if somebody says, oh, wait a minute, that's not what the book said, well, then you get to have your first fun. Well, you know, we're not playing in the book, we're playing in my world. And I know this shrivels the soul of 5e players, but in everything that I ever edited, and everything that Gary ever wrote a forward to, we said that these are not graven in stone. They're not laws. None of these are laws in this reference. They're rules, they're guidelines to be used, discarded, or modified as you see fit. That's, I think, all the separation that you need, in my opinion. Okay, no, sorry. I keep going back and rereading the same stuff. My bad. Don't know why. I saw an interview on another YouTube where they asked you something like how the combat to hit matrices were placed in the DM's guide in D&D. You said that answer was long and complicated and could be done in the 2 minutes remaining. Would you mind recounting this? I don't think you ever followed up with them. Wandering DM's YouTube channel. I remember being asked that question, and I vaguely remember giving that answer, but I don't remember the context. You know, why was something put in the DM's guide? Okay, the DM is supposed to have the biggest book of what's going on. Okay, his book's supposed to be the biggest because, or she, this is just, you know, you have to be when you're behind the screen. I'd have to see that again, and I really don't remember the context. It was probably something about why is it that a DM's guide instead of the player's handbook? Well, we felt that some stuff ought to be in the DM's book. And we knew that players would eventually see one and someone would even memorize it, but we thought that the DM ought to be the one to know when he says, all right, roll me a 20, and then he looks at the chart and tells them whether or not they hit. THAC0 kind of negates that, because if they know they're THAC0 and they roll their THAC0 or higher and still don't hit, well, it's an immediate tip-off that they're facing enchanted armor of some sort or a magical being. Okay, now, I made reference to words we shouldn't or can't use anymore. Okay, now, and this is a legitimate, and I'm gonna address it. UNCF is still used to this day. That's the United Negro College Fund. So why is that particular N word considered offensive? I believe that its offensiveness lies in its origins. And there was a pseudoscientific mindset at one time that we had the yellow race, the black race, the white race, the brown race, which we now know is crap. Okay, all of those can be a subset of the others. I can understand. I believe, right down to the nitty gritty, I can call myself a Mick. I'm Irish. I can call myself a Mick. But if you call me a Mick, and I know you to mean it in some sort of slur, I will and should take offense. Now, it so happened that when the first Black Power started in the late 60s, there was a concerted move to go away from Negro to black. And so the term fell out of favor because that was a Tom term, or it was then, and now it's black. And something such as the College Fund, having been established quite a while before all that took place, traditionally, that's their traditional name, and I believe that enough young people of color are wise enough to know that they're well-established long-term, and so they get a pass. Just like we no longer use the term slaves, we use the term enslaved person, because there's more of a dignity attached to the term enslaved person. Truth in advertising. I have my grandson is biracial, and he married a biracial woman. My granddaughter is biracial. She married a not mixed man. And I have soon to be 7 multiracial great-grandchildren. Oddly enough, one of them is a blonde, blue-eyed, white-skinned girl who will fiercely tell you that she's black. Obviously not looking at her, but she identifies as black because her mommy and her daddy and her 2 brothers are all darker than she is. You're whatever you want. You call yourself. However, don't expect to not draw some animus if you go around telling everybody you're black and you are as pale as me. Just because you got, 1/8 somewhere in there, and you never ever suffered for that 1/8. You weren't ever called a name or held back or overlooked or whatever for that 1/8. Personally, I don't care what anybody calls it, any group calls themselves, as long as they stick with it. Don't expect me to catch up every 6 months with your new name. And I have used the formal N-word in discussions with my grandchildren when they were younger, and explained to them how at that time that those words were used. I guess it's just African Americans are tired of being called using that term, and they don't want to be called that anymore. And it's fine. It's no more objectionable or more unreasonable than Hungarian immigrants don't want to be called hunkies anymore. But they were at a time, and they don't want to be called that anymore, and so don't. It's an eggshell-filled minefield. Trying to not offend people today, catch up on what word's current now, what name, what adjective. I don't pretend to understand it all. I just try to follow it, so I don't offend anyone. All right, The Lost Adventures. They were 2 adventures that I wrote for Gary Kahn. The first one it's all about Gary's children being kidnapped and going off to rescue them, and Luke turning rogue, and there's a lot of family humor in it. But you don't have to know the Gygax family. They're just characters with those names. They're kind of like in-jokes. The second one was I branched out onto something entirely different, went away from the traditional, and explored some new ground. And both were quite popular. I got lots of good feedback, either any time that I ran either one of them. And it's going to have a super high res scans of my original home published off my laser with my comb bindings and artwork that I got from various people and friends and artists. And then it'll be, and that's I write for OD&D, somewhere in that amber between OD&D and First, right in there, and when they're pulling apart. And it's been converted to First Edition. It's been converted to Fifth. Has 12 or 16 new monsters, full color maps that you can pull out and use. I mean, I'm not publishing it. Okay, someone came, Wizard Tower came to me and said, let's do this. I said, okay, we'll do all this and this and this and this. And I said, okay. It's a whole lot more than I did. We're only going to do 300. And as a matter of fact, I'm dreading the arrival of the book plates right now because then I got to sign them all. I'm reasonably certain that it's going to do very well in the appreciate and value, because it's, like I said, only 3. A lot of people, I think, are going to buy it and then a PDF so they can get it dirty and put this on the shelf. And I'm kind of tickled to have a book of my own on a hard binding on a shelf somewhere. That's pretty cool. So you can check out the Kickstarter link at the end of the video here. I point behind me because it's coming, and look at it. And I'd like it if you did. Someone asked earlier, and I didn't read that part of it. They thought that PDFs make more money for the authors. I don't know. I'm on this on a percentage deal, and so I don't think it changes. It's just certain royalty percentage thing. It might be. I do know that if you're putting one together, if I were the person putting this all together and assembling it and collating it and everything, yeah, it's easier to whip a PDF, order up a PDF and send it out. But you got to write the original stuff first. All right, now to GameHole. I'm told, I didn't count, told it's the 7th time I've been. Well, I know I can tell you is if that's the case, then I've had fun 7 times. Wonderful convention. They have everything from live dungeon, trading tokens and stuff, to long serial games that run the weekend, board games, a lot of minis. Well, not as much minis as others, but some. Fighting Skies, now known as Dawn Patrol, they always come and run some great big huge games, and through them I found out about these tapestries of aerial photos of countryside that you can have a grid printed over, and so it's a beautiful map. And Mike Carr, who wrote the game when he was still in high school, has quite the collection of counters, little square 1-inch counters, many which have been painted by Mike, myself, and some others, and so add a certain distinctive flair to the game. They were there. Let's see, what else was there? Oh, Wonder Cookies. Oh my God. They were delightful. They were delicious. They gave all the guests a big tub of 9 of them, and I don't think mine lasted 2 days. Critical Hit Drinks was there again. And they started a new program that they're asking celebrities, whatever their definition of celebrity might be, what their favorite custom drink is. And so I'm already on the celebrity menu for my Cascoid. My Cascoid is a lemonade base, has blood orange, lime, and ruby red grapefruit. And it is delightful even when it starts to melt and dilute. And there's several others also. Sean, great guy, that runs the thing. And if you see the Critical Hit soda truck, food truck, drink truck, at a gaming convention, all ex-TSR employees drink free. You're welcome. What else? I had an error. I generally try to promise conventions 20 hours worth. I'll run 20 hours worth of games. I figure that's fair trade for giving me a room for 3 days or 4 days. And something happened, and I didn't notice, but only 4 of the 5 came back as having been accepted. I didn't count something, missed one, so I didn't have a game on Saturday afternoon, which meant I woke up in the morning, had nothing to do until 8 o'clock that night. But, tough problem. I got several repeaters that played last year and came back to play again this year, which always delights me. Couple, 3 of which were females, and I welcomed them most heartily back to the table because they were both excellent. They played each in a different game, a different session last year, came together and played this year, and we had a great time. The wheel went well. When I ran it, it went well. Had a great time. The only flaw in the ointment was kind of like seedy entertainment. On Saturday night, I run a game, both at GaryCon and GameHole, and I will probably at Wizard Tower Con, called Dirt Track Saturday Night. It's a very simple racing game. We use Matchbox cars for the counters. I have a big custom map that some friends made up for me that I've now had copied and laminated so I can roll it in a tube. And it's just real simple racing with a bit of amount of chance. And you roll 2 12s to determine your move. 2 3 4, it's 2 3 4 5 6. So it's broken down, and you got to roll really high to get the highest number. And if you're stuck behind the pack, it doesn't do much good anyway. But it's a well thought out game, and if you know dirt track racing, it's extremely well thought out. The maneuvers, the points to slide through the mud and everything. So I had 8 players, which is what I shoot for. And I had a player, right from the beginning, I thought, uh-oh, because he's getting every possible, what's this exactly mean? What's that exactly mean? Leafing through the rules and what have you. And so I thought, okay, and I don't want to say I judge people too soon, but as many years as I've been doing this, I believe this is probably a player that drove his DM crazy trying to nitpick and metagame. Because, as it happened in this game, you can't drive through the infield. And he wanted to know why. Why can't I? It's all dirt. I said, because if you do, you're disqualified. Well, it's all dirt. I said, well, obviously you've never been to a dirt track, or you'd know that dirt tracks have tires sunk halfway down into the ground to bounce cars back out and to keep them from running through the infield and crashing into tow vehicles or whatever might be in the infield during the race. Just lost it. And so, well, he swore first. He dropped the first F-bomb. And he thought he was, I guess, insulting me when he called me an old man. Well, yeah, I am. Glad of it. threw my stuff across the room, my handouts and my everything, just threw it across the room. And I'm giving back as good as he's getting. In fact, I'm beginning to win. And because I can outswear almost any living human being, having been Navy trained. And told him to, take a hike. So he came, and so his two buddies that had come with him kind of sheepishly got up and followed him out, looking over their shoulders at me like, you know how it is. Yeah, it's your buddy. You gotta present for your buddy, even if he is a dick and an asshole. And he came back a couple of minutes later. I want to tell you my name, and he told me his name, which I totally forgot right away, because I'm going to file a formal complaint. Because I finally had to tell him, just get away, shut up. He'd sworn all he was going to swear, and I had plenty left, but I didn't care to use it, and I'd call security if he wouldn't just get away. Oh, I never heard from anybody. I don't think if he did go, they wrote it all down. He walked away, and because I know he didn't find the head guy that late at night, because I know where the head guy was, running a game somewhere else. So other than him and the 5 remaining, we had a great time. We played out the game. It was a little easier to play with less congestion on the track, but we had a great time. And I'm going to continue to run the game at the cons I go to on Saturday night. That's what I do. And as I traditionally leave on Sunday, it's the slam bag event, and they generally run 4 hours. They seldom get over early. So other than that, he was, a good turnout. A lot of the regular dealers, some of the demo dealers were into the actual dealer hall this year, having made it from demo to got a product to sell. New stuff out there. Several podcasts show up and do podcasts. From there, though surprisingly enough, they're all the time running around looking for people, and apparently I'm no longer relevant because I don't get asked. But not like I don't have a lot of stuff to do. I've done a couple of GameHole short ones. I did a thing for Wounded Warrior. I did an interview for them. I did something for Tiny Epic Dungeons, or Epic Level Dungeons. That's it, Epic Level Dungeons. And they were there. And that's all cool. I mean, I'm just, I would not go up there and do mine because I couldn't sit here and chat with y'all like the way I do. I'd have to, follow the rules and let other people talk. But otherwise, good con. I highly recommend it. Alex owns the Free House, a restaurant, above which is the GameHole, for which it's named. He closed the Free House, and the special guests all got invited. Open bar, open restaurant, open kitchen. Wow. You just can't fault that. I'm sorry. And none of the other cons I go to even have that in their arsenal because none of the other ones own a restaurant. But it's from start to finish, it was a great con. Wonderful times were had by all. Though the weather really, really, really sucked when I looked for the 10-day forecast that would include, the weekend there. Oh, yeah, it's going to be all mid to upper 50s and sunny and that. And we had one day, I bet it didn't get over 42, and we had a steady 12-mile-an-hour wind the whole day, gusting up to 15. But hey, it happens. I'm waiting for the big snowstorm to catch us at GaryCon in March. If this is the worst that happens at the GameHole, fine. I had a couple extra sweaters I brought with. I didn't freeze. Didn't lose any of my extremities to frostbite. Okay, what else? All right. Check out at the end for the Scientific Barbarian. Check out at the end for the Lost Adventures. They'll be autographed when they go out the door, and of course, I'll personalize any of them that are brought to me at any con that I attend. So, I'll be glad to do that for you. I think that's about it. So, until next week, Dodata Govi. Hello, and welcome to my cellar.
He's the curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs. Still quite a feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar.
Last man around when them rates went down. Calling Gary in that Lake Geneva town. Hey Gary, it's an awful mess. Let me edit, we'll have success. D&D and Dragon Magazine.
He's the curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs, but he's still quite the feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar.
Magic missile, it's a mortar shell. Make it hit in the first level spell. Brought psionics to the game to attack that wizard's brain. ESR and fantasy, collection of micro armory. Titan with tramp under a tree, high as could be.
He's the curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs, but he's still quite the feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar.
Still quite the feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar.
Curmudgeon.